Hey guys, today we're replacing the fuel pump on the 2005 X5 E53 from BMW. What we're gonna need for tools is a 10mm socket. I got this little chisel that I use, and then a hammer, an oil pan, some gloves, and just a rag to clean up. Here we have our new fuel pump. This little piece that I'm pointing comes separate, so make sure you put that together. It's pretty easy. So we're gonna start off by removing our seat. The seat has two clamps at the bottom. You can see one of them right there. The first thing we're gonna start off by removing this plastic cover. This is not my first time, so as you can see, I did a slit or a cut on that plastic before because I know it's a BMW and I know I was gonna come back to this. So the first thing we're doing, we're gonna remove 4 nuts. These are 10mm. Pretty easy, pretty simple. Like I mentioned earlier, I knew I was coming back to the job because the previous pump that I put in there, it's not an original pump. I don't really want to pay the $500 for a pump. This car is only driven locally in town, so I don't mind, coming back in here and swapping it. So once we remove those 4 nuts, then you can see where the little cut that I made on that plastic comes in handy. That's going to allow us to pull that back easily. And right below that, there's a metal piece that we want to remove from that plastic. It's a little hard, not too hard, but don't be afraid to pull on that. All right, so that's going to allow us to pull that little metal piece back. And that's going to let us get into that plug that we have there and also the fuel line. And those are the only 2 things plugged into the fuel pump. So I didn't mention it earlier, but we do need a flathead, and that's going to allow us to remove that plug. All you have to do is slide that back, and then you start pulling up. If it gets a little hard, feel free to bring in the flathead and just put it in there and try to pry it up a little bit, and it should come out. So there we have the plug, and as you can see, it has this sort of movement where if it gets pulled out, it loosens it up. And then for the hose clamp, this is not the original hose clamp. This is one that I put in there. For the original one, you would need a little hook sort of to remove it. Some are reusable if they're in good condition. If not, I would just suggest using a regular stainless steel hose clamp like I did. Once we remove that, it's pretty easy. We just pull it out. In my case, I just grabbed some vice grips and then I just tighten that up and then tuck it to the side just to avoid any fuel coming out the line. And that's going to allow us enough space for us to work around it. So I grab my little round tip chisel and I start hitting it to where it's going to loosen up that ring. So counterclockwise. And then we want to get our oil pan, or that's what I have. And that's just so when we pull out the fuel pump, we won't make a mess. So we keep turning until the ring comes out. This is going to allow us to pull out our fuel pump. We can pry that up a little bit with the screwdriver. It should come right out. Just remember there's a little slot that goes in there, so that's going to be our guide for the new fuel pump. Let's bring it out carefully. It does come out in an angle, just FYI. You don't want the little lever to be getting stuck in there, so just be patient. There we go. And then make sure we take that ring with us as well, the plastic seal. And when we put our new one back in, we're putting our seal back. This is a new seal. As you can see in there, there's a few lines and little components for the gas tank. As you can see deep in the gas tank. Just make sure to be careful when we put the new one back in. We don't want to get it stuck on that. That's why I'm saying if you put it in an angle, it should be easy. You know that seal is good to go once it's pretty level to it. This is where I was talking about, where make sure we put that in an angle. We want to go in there first, then kind of move it towards the front of the car and then the back. Once it goes down, it should go down smooth, and make sure you align that with that groove. And that's it. So now we're going to put our ring back. So what we want to do, we want to push the fuel pump while we spin the ring to make sure it tightens. So I press down, hold the fuel pump, and start tightening it up. So that was pretty easy. So now we get our hammer and chisel back, and we just tap it so we can lock it in there. Next, we want to do our fuel line. We remove the vice grips, put it back in there, see how there's no mess. We get our hose clamp in place, and then we bring our flathead. We just tighten that up. Make sure not to tighten crazy because we can break, as these are plastic parts, so we want to be careful on that. Alright, so next we bring our switch. We want to make sure we open that. Our plug. So let's open it. And then we start to push in there. This one goes sort of in an angle as well, but you can press down, and then we lock it back in place. We want to slide that back in there. Put our metal piece back. We can put our nuts back at this point. It won't be in our way once we put that plastic back. So we can just hand tighten these. We don't want to go Superman on it. We don't want to break anything, especially with the BMW. Alright guys, so at this point we're basically done. Once we put our plastic back together, we can go ahead and put our seat back together. Make sure you get the seat belts through there. Steps are on the description. If you have any questions, let me know, and please don't forget to follow.